ready to go, Maddie. I love
Let's
this.
do it. Let's do it. Let's bring, she's a rising star in the UFC, and now she's on Fight Bananas. Hey, Shauna Bannon.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us. It's so nice to have you.
Yeah.
Where are you joining us from today?
Tala, Dublin, Ireland.
What time is it there?
It's 6 o'clock.
In the
Okay.
In the evening. Yeah.
Okay. I was
Yeah.
about to be like, girl, you could have
Day's
slept
nearly
in.
done.
I'm like, I don't know how all the timings work, but thank you for joining us. I'm sure you're a busy gal.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
So what's new? What's happening? I mean, we haven't seen you in the cage for a bit, but I'm sure you're grinding behind the scenes.
Yeah, I was hoping to fight again before the end of the year because like my debut and my second fight was a year gap. So that was like a lot for me. I'm so used to being active, like even with my background in kickboxing, I was competing all the time. And then as an amateur, I tried to get as much competition as possible. And then my first 5 fights as a pro, it happened in the space of 12 months. So activity is something that I like, and the momentum and all that. So then I made my pro debut and it was like a year off, and that was like, felt like forever. Like I think I had less than that when I had Jace because I actually fought pregnant.
Right.
I was like 8 weeks pregnant. I fought, and then I came back really soon after. So like the big gaps are not something that I'm used to. So yeah, it wasn't ideal, but it was just with injuries, and I suppose I lost. So I kind of they gave me a little bit of time to readjust, and then I was hoping to fight in March this year, and then my meniscus tore and flipped, so I had to get that shaved off, and then I was rehabbing that, and then I fought in July. But I was chatting with Mick last week, and he said all the cards are full for the year, so it's probably going to be early next year. But I just love then now for next year to just like I'd love 4 fights in 1 year if I could. Like I
Right.
know that's probably unrealistic, but if I could get that, I would love that because I feel like the more I'm competing, the better I am.
Absolutely.
Shauna, you said so much there. There was like so many things I wanted to say, but I wanted to give you a huge compliment. You know, of course, we've known of you and I know of you and huge fan of everything you're doing. But when I kind of looked up your topology, you're absolutely right. I loved how busy you were and you know, are. Also, your level of competition. Like, I had to check it out. I totally forgot you fought Dakota Ditcheva, who's a mega star right now doing her thing in the PFL.
That was
like,
the fight I was pregnant in.
Right. I was going to say that. I was like, it's not like you were fighting a meatball when you were pregnant. You were fighting Dakota Ditcheva.
Dude.
Like,
the poor
that's
knees
insane.
to the belly. I was like, is my son okay in there? Please tell me
Oh
he's okay.
my goodness.
And what a stud she is. Like, she has became one of the top female fighters on the planet right now.
Yeah. No, we had a good fight. It was like 5 rounds. We were fighting for a belt.
Yeah, I saw it.
And my weight cut just like didn't go to plan, obviously, because Jace wanted some fluids and I was trying to dehydrate my body and it was just not happening. So I ended up weighing it because if I didn't make the weight, I think I was like 0.3 over when I got to the scales. And if I didn't make the weight, it wasn't for a belt. And I was like, no, I want to fight for the belt. So we went back to the sauna and they gave an extension or whatever. And I eventually made the weight. But by the time I made the weight, I was so drained. I just slept. I didn't even refuel. And then I fought the next day. And you can tell in my performance, it wasn't like I'm normally so active and busy and throwing everything, and it was a lot of the fight for 2 strikers. The majority of the fight was against the fence. It's mad. Like we were in the clinch for so much of the fight, so like not what was expected for 2 strikers going in, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
With that being said, and I'm sorry, Maddie, I have like one more on this
No, go
Dakota
for it.
part of it. Like, she's becoming such a superstar over in the PFL. I hate to plan her future or to talk for her, but you think sooner or later, a year from now, 2 years from now, we see what Kayla Harrison's doing. If she ever transitions into the UFC, would you ever like, is that something like, hey, 2026, 2027, that is a mega fight with you and Dakota too?
Yeah, like my coach always says, "You will meet again." We're obviously in different divisions now. She fights flyweight. We fought that fight at flyweight, but I then went down to strawweight for my pro career. But like, who's to say that? I don't think she'd make coming down because she's quite a tall girl. But like, I could fight flyweight. You never know. So yeah, it could be a match for the future.
Nice.
Well, you've come a long way since that fight, and you know you're staying as active as you can be. Unfortunately, you know, it sounds like this year is full, but would you ever consider stepping in last minute? I feel like there's always something going on, right? There's always an injury or something.
Yeah, no, and I said that I kind of do the negotiating with myself, and I was like, look, if anything falls through or you need an opponent, I'm here.
Yes,
I
I
would
love that
obviously
energy.
prefer to have a full camp, but like when there's so like little momentum so far since I don't feel like I've even shown anywhere near my full potential in the octagon.
Agree.
Like I
Agree.
feel like some of my Invicta fights were probably better than my UFC fights. Like my debut, I think all happened so fast. I literally
Mhm.
got signed and I fought. Like there was
Right.
no time to even digest the fact that I was in the UFC. Although like I visualized that for so long because that was the goal. When I got in there, like it was I don't think it was actually fully. And then I had a year to realize it. And my last fight, my knee was still kind of bothering me. Like I think they said it was 38% weaker than the other leg, which isn't ideal. So I basically fought with half a leg, but I still performed a little bit better when I showed different aspects of the game. Like we were on the ground, we were wrestling, like there was a few different things going on. And but still nowhere near what I know I'm capable of and what I'm like inspiring and stuff. So I would love to just get momentum and keep going and be active and get to show kind of what I am able to do in there because I just don't feel like I've got to show that quite yet.
I totally agree, Shauna. And the one thing it's a question slash statement is I agree with you about the future of you and the star and all of that nature. And you said it was always UFC was the goal. And what the UFC does better than, of course, any other promotion is they create superstars. We saw how quick Alex Pereira has joined the UFC and is one of the biggest stars in the industry. Sean O'Malley, of course, we all know with Connor and so much and so much. Was it always your goal to be in the UFC? And if it is that part of it? Because the UFC puts you on this platform of you can become a superstar. I feel like the PFL and Bellator, they're fighters, and the UFC does more, I think for their fighters becoming, commercials and stars and branching out so much. So was UFC always the goal?
Yeah, like after so me and Paddy, we had options to go with people for my pro debut, but we were like, we're going to keep it local, do the first two local, and then make the decision. So when I was fighting for my third pro fight, I had 5 contracts that I was choosing from. So there was PFL, Invicta,
Yeah.
KSW, Aries, and what was the other one? What was the other one? I can't remember. Anyways, whatever the other
Ton
one
of
was.
options. Ton of
Yeah,
options.
yeah,
Yeah, so
good problem
and
to
it
have.
was so
Yeah.
stressful. Like I know it's like I had so many options, which is amazing, but like it was tough because I was like, right, if I go to KSW, are they going to just keep me there and I won't be able to get released? But then I had a negotiation with them, and they were making the contract shorter, and if the fights didn't happen in a period of time, I was gone. So I was like, oh, because the money was good, and then the PFL were obviously offering the most, and then but it was in flyweight, and I wasn't a flyweight. Like I'm a strawweight. Like I make
Yeah.
strawweight. Like I have to diet to make it, but I don't die making it. My last fight, I cut 3 pounds. Like
That's
I'm a
fantastic.
strawweight. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, oh, and like I just feel like PFL might always be there. And it wasn't the road to lead me to the UFC, which was the goal.
Right.
So that was why I went with Invicta, and they gave me the agreement that if they weren't able to give me in a fight, I could get a fight somewhere else. So I was like, brilliant. And like it was an amazing platform. It was a step up in competition. It was a step up in arena, the like experience, the crowd, the everything. Like it was like a stepping stone to the UFC. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yep.
So like obviously I'm so glad that I made that decision and I went with them. And because sometimes like people are like it's about the money, but it's not. It's about the experience and the opportunities, and then where you can go from there. Are they going to
Totally.
tie you there and not let you go? Are they going to like, do you know what I mean? So there was so
Yeah.
Oh
much to
yeah.
take into consideration, and I didn't go for the most money. I went for where I thought was going to get me to the UFC, and I was very clear with them signing the contract that like my goal is to be in the UFC. And I think most promoters understand that. Like, do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's the pinnacle of the sport. So
Mhm.
yeah, I had a great time in Invicta, and then I had another fight back home defending one of my belts, and then I was supposed to fight on Cage Warriors Dublin after my 5th pro fight, so for my
Okay.
6th one, and it fell through. They couldn't get me matched, and like I was going to do catch weights, and it never happened, and it fell through. And then the opportunity came up for the UFC, and I was like, yeah, sign me up, because after my 5th win in Invicta, they were like, you're fighting for the belt next. And then person that had the belts didn't want to fight, and there was all this back and forth, and I was like, look, you said to me face to face that I was going to fight for the belt, and then it didn't happen, and it was just politics.
Yeah.
But then, look, I think everything happens for a reason, because when you fight for the belt, you have to defend it once. And like, obviously, you want to get titles and belts. That's like, I've done that my whole career, but also opportunity is huge. So I think it worked out well in the end, and I got to the
You're a
UFC.
scary opponent, Shauna. You're a scary opponent. They don't want to sign that letter. They don't want to sign that
Seriously.
paper.
But you know what? You played it smart. You
Yeah.
thought about your future. And what I really liked what you said was you didn't take the most money, but you took what's going to give you the most reps, important reps. And I think what a lot of young fighters do is they're so hell bent on getting that perfect record instead of actually getting good, solid competition that
Yeah.
when they do get to the UFC, they crumble, right? So I'm really excited to see you just kind of evolve in the cage. I mean, we saw it from your first fight to the second one. So
Yeah.
now, I mean, what are your hopes to bring out in the third one?
I think, like, the first one was just a blur. The second one, I think I was I was only talking to the sports psychologist that I work with the other day about this, and I was like, it was like I was focusing too much on not like on losing, like instead of just
Right.
performing. It was like, I can't lose, I can't lose, I can't lose, I can't lose, because I could get dropped. I'm on another loss, and I can't fucking feel how I felt after that UFC loss, because that debut killed me. Like, it was a low time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like the whole nation was looking at me, and those people that were tuning in for the first time, never seen me fight before, and then I fought like that, and I was just like, for fuck's sake, like, really, is this actually, like, it was tough. So yeah, I think, like, just finding my flow and showing, like, the mixed martial artist that I am, because, like, I'm confident in my wrestling and my grappling, and, like, people say I'm a striker, but, like, I'm a grappler as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I won the
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu World Championships last year. I only got my purple belt, and I won it like 2 weeks later. So, like, I'm confident in my grappling. And I think, like, I'd like to just show more of, like, me flowing, rather than, I feel like some of my fights have been a little bit repetitive. Whereas, like, my Invicta fights, I'm doing spinny shit. I'm like, I'm doing all different things. I'm throwing them. I'm on the
You're
floor.
more
I'm back on my
free.
feet. And do you know what I mean? And I just don't feel like I've gotten to that flow of things in the UFC. So, like, and I know that's what they signed me for, because they seen that in me. And I just want to show that now. And, like, obviously you want to get a knockout or a submission and a finish, but I also want to just perform, because I
Yeah.
don't think I've fully performed in the
Yeah.
Love it.
UFC.
Sean, we know you have to get running here in a couple of minutes, but we love bringing in people that ask questions and the fans that are watching it live with us. So here's one for you, making the walk. They said, hey, Shauna, would you prefer your next fight be in the US, or are you more happy fighting in the UK region?
I get asked this all the time. I don't care. Like, the arena, and I know it's mad. Like, but the arena doesn't matter to me. If I fight in the Apex in my next fight,
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
fine with that. I'm actually fine with that. Like, obviously, the travel is not ideal, because I have to leave a little bit longer to be away from Jace, because
Mm.
the time difference and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So it's way easier for it to be in the UK. But at the same time, I just want to fight. So I'm like, wherever. Bring me to China. I don't care. I'll fight wherever.
Put me in, coach. Put me
I like
in.
it. I like it. I like
Yeah.
it.
Well, you have a lot of great people in your corner. And I know you said, like, after that loss, losing sucks and it doesn't feel good. But you have people to lean on, like Molly McCann, who seems like a great friend of yours. Did she
Yeah.
give you some advice after that loss?
Yeah, we were both kind of in the same position, weren't we? And we were like, straight after that, we went to Thailand for like a month. So we were
Ooh.
just together and like training and trying to just build back up the confidence. And then she went and she had a grappling show and she won by an armbar. And then she cornered me in the Jiu-Jitsu world and I won the world title. So we kind of had those like little wins together, and it was nice to get back on the Willing column. And then she went on, she had a fight in the February then and won as well, but with another
Right.
unreal armbar in the UFC. And like, it's nice to have someone there that's been with me since the start in the UFC, and like kind of helped me about things that like I didn't know about. She'd be like, oh, you can do this, you can do that. And she's just so kind, and it's great to have her there on the highs and the lows, because
She
it's all
seems
part
like
of
a
the
good
journey.
friend. She seems like
Yeah,
a good
she is.
friend and a good time.
Yeah,
Yes,
she is a
that's for
good
sure.
time.
That's
She's
for
in
sure.
Ibiza now. I'm sure she's living her best life.
I love that. We'll let you run after this. We would just love your kind of put a bow if you can. If you watch, I would assume UFC 307, two big female fights in the bantamweight division, Kayla Harrison winning and Juliana Pena becoming a new champion, Alex Pereira. Anything else on that card really jumped at you? What's your, like I said, put a little bow on UFC 307 for us.
Do you know, I think Kayla is like, looking at her coming in from the PFL, she was a superstar there, and like obviously she still is a superstar, but I just have so much respect from her. She's a single mother as well, so I can kind of relate to her in them ways. And I think like there's so much pressure on her. Like there's so much pressure. Like she's just expected, and like she's fighting top ranked opponents, and like she's not getting bums in there. Do you know what I mean? And I think people are like, I don't know if she just doesn't get the respect she deserves sometimes, I feel. Like, I feel like some people throw it back in her face, and then obviously some people do, but I just think she's like a really nice attribute to the bantamweight division, because it was gone a bit stale. Like, there was a couple at the top, but I think it's nice to kind of brighten it up, and I'm excited to see her future.
She's got a great personality too. Like, she's funny.
She just seems genuine, doesn't she?
Oh, she crushed it at the press conference. She crushed it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this to say this. I go to a lot of the PFL events. I met Kayla Harrison 5-7 times. We've messaged each other so many times. She's awesome. Like, she is really cool. And like you said, she is as real as it gets. There's no sugarcoating. And I really respect that. I respect someone that can tell you what's up, how they feel. She is who she is. And dude,
a fair play to her for making bantamweight.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. She's a unit.
My steps are like, I'm like, how the fuck do you make bantamweight, girl?
I know, it's wild. It's wild.
Shauna, we appreciate you. We appreciate your time. We are massive fans of you. The next time when you have that fight announcement or before, we would love to have you back on the show. We know you got to run. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon, friend.
Thank you so much, guys. Chat soon. Have a nice day.
Take care, Shauna.
Thank you, Shauna Bannon, UFC star. What a stud.
I can't wait to see